I think the near, far is really, you could do it like a very literal way with running, of like, the amount of distance. But I think about it more as in how you become closer to people that you run with, and also the spaces that you run through. When you're sort of moving side by side and not just looking at someone, you kind of get a little bit more free. I'm Lindsey A. Freeman. I'm a sociologist and a writer from Vancouver, BC, Canada. Here I'm thinking about running as an art form and a kind of poetics of practice. So here I gave a lecture and a reading and a performance, but also 2 run clubs in the morning in the Tier Garden, to also bring people into community and actually put into practice what I wanted to talk about in my lecture. Yeah, I lectured, I read from my book, which is called Running, and I tried to concentrate on themes of thinking about competition in a different way, how we can look at winning and losing as a kind of aesthetics that's outside of a winner-take-all. Yeah, so I am primarily working in the medium of words and in sentences. So it's been amazing to be at Transmediale when there's so many visual artists and people working in digital media, because my practice is pretty analog, right? So obviously I work on a laptop, but the sentence structure is really at the core. So really it's about practice, both in writing and in running, which is putting in a little bit every day to see what happens. I run almost every day. I run 6 days a week. Oh, the one day is rest. Yeah, so then it lets the body recover. And I try to do that with thinking and writing as well. So you kind of let everything bubble back up, and give a little space for creativity to happen the next day. I think, I've always run, so it feels just really part of me and of my life. But I see running always as a sense of freedom and a kind of break, and a way also to reset. So you get away from your email inbox and all of the kind of minor tasks that you have to do in the day, and through movement have a kind of reset as well, a kind of rest while in action. I've always run, and I never thought about it as the core of my artistic or scholarly work until during the pandemic. I was invited to write a book for the Practices series at Duke University, and I was thinking of what kind of hobbies I have or what I've done for a long time. And that's I don't have a lot, watching TV or reading, and that doesn't seem like it would make a very good book. But then I thought about running, and then I had never really analyzed it or sat with it as a kind of artistic practice until I wrote this book, and it really changed my perspective on something that I have been doing my whole life. So I'm really interested in thinking about different genres and how we can make that into art, and I thought, well, why not running, right? People act like that artistic practice and sports practice are like 2 things over here, and practiced by 2 different kinds of people, But I feel like I've always been interested in sport and exercise as well as in art. And I think there's more than just me, I think a lot of people are, but I think this split is a false split. So I just wanted to see what I could do with that medium. For me, I found it's a really effective way to do that, because memory is also in the body and in your body moving through space. So I find that I run the same loops all of the time, it's because you've already mapped it out, it's easy, but then it's always a little bit different. But it makes you remember your past self as well. So I think I'm always I'm catching myself on the loop. And I think that's really wonderful. And also the places that I live, you remember For example, there's a turtle that I see in a little lake that I run around, and if I don't see it, I think of it because I remember the turtle, right? But there's all kinds of little triggers that will jog your memory like that, yeah. And one thing is, like, lots of scholars and writers have written about walking. Yes, like there's volumes about walking, and there's not that many about running, not as many. I think they are different. Walking is obviously like a little bit of a slower practice. So maybe you notice, when I walk or when I run, I notice different things. But what I like about running is I think that it gets your heart going a little bit, and I think it gets me in a more meditative zone. Whereas when walking, I think it can calm me down, but it's like I think it's about zones, right? So running will really put me in a meditative, like another plane, where walking can be a break. I love walking too. It can also be a break or a place where people get ideas. I actually never get any ideas when I'm running. Some people do, and they also solve their problems with their lovers and do all kinds of, make what they're gonna make for dinner in their head. If it's good for me, I'm just like noticing trees, and like I'm in just kind of a rhythm of things without too much processing or future thinking. So I think I get trapped in a lot of future, always planning for the next thing. So I think another way to say that is that it makes me feel present, and embodied. Yeah, I think the near, far is really, you could do it like a very literal way with running, like, the amount of distance. But I think about it more as in how you become closer to people that you run with, and also the spaces that you run through. So if you run with people, you get to know kind of a lot about them, and like it's a quick intimacy, and also it's like you have different conversations. It's like being in a long car ride or something. It's just when you're sort of moving side by side and not just looking at someone, you kind of get a little bit more free. So I think it's a lot about distance and perceptions of closeness in terms of intimacy that you can really see when you're running. It was kind of just a wild idea I feel like we had on a Zoom call. They were like, you should do a run club. And I was like, okay, I'll do that. And then I looked on the map of where we are, and I was like, this is going to be perfect because the Spree is right there, the Tiergarten is right here. So kind of emerged from that. And because my theme is, the theme of my book is writing about running from a queer angle as well. One of the things that I wanted to do for us to run by the monument to the massacred homosexuals. So we did that today and had a little look, and so I think it's like about memory and mourning and celebrating life and all of those things. So I think that's also, we had never seen it, a running club at like a arts festival, and so we were like, we're gonna be the first to do it. I think it's a lot like dance, running. I think when I was saying that I was doing this running thing at an arts festival, it's like this thing of the sports people and the arts people on this side, people got to raise an eyebrow. But I think that running is similar to a practice like dance, or it could be. And it's very beautiful, and also there's some choreography, right? There's a plan of movement. So yeah, I'd love to see actually more running in arts programs. So maybe it could catch on. Action brings you have to be a part of it, right? If you come to the run club, you don't have to, but it's more fun if you do. I just want to connect with the audience, and I think it's very hard when you don't know who is out there, right? So one way that I always think about doing it is kind of the more personal you can go with your own story. It has a magic trick that it actually makes other people think about their own personal experiences as a connection. So sometimes I think it's counterintuitive, but to go more personal actually brings you closer than to try to be general and speak to everybody, right? Because people connect with their own individual experience to other individual experiences. This morning was really beautiful because also I didn't know anyone who came to the run, but then after we had gotten in the cold a little bit, we ran together, we breathed a little bit hard, not too hard, but we got going a little bit. And then like throughout the day, then I see everybody I was like, oh, hey, there's the runners. So I think it does a good thing for a festival or a kind of a gathering like this, because yeah, I think I developed an intimacy with these people who came that you wouldn't have otherwise. I think it loosens things up a little bit when you do something physical together with people. I think the embodied stuff is like, I think it does feel in this kind of themes of the conference closer in a way that is different than just like the proximity that they talk about in their kind of formulation of their themes. Yeah, I think it brings you into the space of your own body. So sometimes if I'm watching something digital, I still will feel at a remove. Or I'll be kind of curious only about the bodies that I see and not my own body, you know? But if you see somebody doing it, I think it really draws attention to both to like their body and your own body. I think about this when I watch dance, I keep kind of going back to that, but it's like, wow, you know, like a body can do that, you know? I think embodied practice is really important. I mean, I love a lot of digital art as well, but I think like having both, it brings us to the like full awareness of like our human experience, right? A lot we're behind the screen, but we can't hopefully always be behind the screen. Yeah, I mean, I think running can happen anywhere, which is kind of the magic of running. Like, even if we wanted to just run back and forth in the small, it would not be the best run, but we could do it. So I think that's one of the things I love about running. Like, and all you need is just to put your shoes on and go. Running in Berlin is really special because the Tiergarten is just a beautiful park and like an historic place. And it's full of monuments and also just beautiful trees and different textures on the path I really like. So it's like a treat for your feet. You know, you can be on harder or softer surfaces. Yeah, so I think Berlin is such a great city, and to think about cities like leaving open spaces for people to move and be with a little nature in the city is very important. Oh, I think it's just very easy to start, and I hope all people of Seoul will do so. All you really need is a good pair of shoes and socks. So people don't think about the socks, but the socks are important so that they don't get some friction. And then I think you just go out and try, and don't do too much at one time, you know, like you've got to build it up a little bit, but yeah, and just experiment with where you want to run and what feels good to you, yeah. I think reflection is key to this, right? So one way to do this is you can keep what's called session notes. And so you go out and do your run, and then whatever this means to you, some people draw like what they saw or what they thought. And some people write, like me, write sentences. I'm very bad at drawing. And then you kind of keep a little log like this, right? It's like any artistic practice, and then you kind of joggle back and forth between your notes and your new ideas and your experience. And I think that's one way. I'm sure there are many, many other ways, but that's what I do. No, I think you can do it any way that you want. You know, I mostly run by myself, but I do go to a couple of running clubs. I like both. They're kind of different things. So I think you have to find out who you are as a runner. You know, are you a runner that needs like a lot, you would need other people to motivate you, you know, or like you love that and you go out and then you have like a nice coffee afterwards with people? Are you a runner that's fitting it into your daily tasks, right? Or it's your alone time, you know, maybe you have small children or a demanding boss or like something else, right? And you need that for yourself. I think there's no wrong way to do it, and it may also fluctuate for you. You may be a different runner on Monday than you are on Saturday, for example. So it's just finding what you like, really, and it's just you have to experiment. I hadn't thought about that, but I should. I think, like I said, I haven't ever seen it at another festival, so maybe other people will see what we're doing here, and at other art festivals there'll be running clubs. I would love that. I also think that I will keep in touch with the people who I met this morning. at the running club, and maybe even in a different way than I just met them in the cafeteria after a talk. I don't know, but it feels that way a little bit. Again, I think it just makes you feel a little bit more familiar with people and a little bit quicker.